so he might miss some of the small minor details. Like the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to make ruku', he used to grab his knees and he used to open his fingers. You know what I'm saying? In other words, when he was holding his knees, his fingers were not together, but they were open apart. The way that he used to look at his finger when he would be moving it into tashahhud. I mean, very, very, very minute aspects of the Prophet ﷺ prayer has been conveyed to us. So this is a type of the explanation of the Quran. And the same thing can be said concerning zakah, concerning the fast, concerning hajj, concerning marriage and divorce, buying and selling, dealing with unbelievers, jihad, all these aspects of religion, we find in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, whether by his words or by his actions, a detailed exposition of the Quran. So this is part of the explanation of the Quran by the Prophet ﷺ. So we have the direct explanation when he tells us that a Kawthar is like a river in paradise, and we also have the practical expository explanation that through his actions and his words. Now, even if we were to do this at the same time, we find among the Prophet's companions sometimes them shedding light for us concerning the meanings of the Quran. That the Prophet's companions themselves also add light to the meanings of the Quran, in the sense that we find that they say, like for instance, this verse was revealed regarding such and such context. Or they might say that this is the meaning of this verse. It doesn't mean like this. So how do they get this knowledge? They obviously learned it from the Prophets of Allah ﷺ, or they deduced it themselves. They were scholars in and of themselves, but we imagine that most of the time they took it from the Prophet ﷺ's companions. And it's important here to point out that if you find that sometimes, especially now with the translation, which is a great blessing to Muslims who speak the English language, the abridgment of Tafsir ibn Kathir, if you were to read this, sometimes you might find the Prophet's companions giving more than one interpretation for a verse, and you might think at first glance that this is contradictory, but in reality it's probably not. And let me give you an example. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, guide us to the straight path. If somebody said the straight path is the Quran, and a second person said the straight path is Islam, and a third person said the straight path is the Prophet Mohammad ﷺ's way, are these statements contradictory? No. Because Islam is the Quran, and Islam is the way of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So what they've done is they've taken the reality of the straight path, and each of them has expressed to the questioner one aspect of it. Okay? So if somebody asked me, Edmonton, what does Edmonton mean? And I said, it's a city in Canada. And another person said it's a city in Alberta. And a third person says it's at latitude such and such and longitude such and such, right? And a fourth person says that its weather is such and such and such. This is not contradictory. This is all expression of the same reality for this city called Edmonton, but in different ways. So that's not contradictory. And sometimes if you find them concerning the revelation of an ayah, where they say the cause of its revelation or sending down was such and such, another companion says the cause was such and such, it can mean that sometimes the ayah was revealed more than once. I mean, sometimes Allah will reveal the same ayah more than once depending upon the context. That another incident, similar incident. Or sometimes, and this is a peculiarity of the Arabic speech, is that sometimes when they would say it was revealed concerning such and such, they don't mean that it was actually revealed because of this, but they meant that this incident is a similar incident to what it was revealed in for. So they're in that context they meant. So you have to be sort of careful for it. Now, the next source for understanding the Quran after the Sahaba is the Tabi'in, the Prophet's companion students, the second generation. Especially those who are known for their scholarly qualities regarding the Quran, like Mujahid, who takes the Mus'haf and three times stops Ibn Abbas at each ayah asking him concerning its meaning and what was revealed for and so forth. So this is why their statements concerning the tafsir of the Quran is something to be paid attention to. And the other matter is from the Arabic language. I mean, in the end, the Quran is an Arabic book, and it addressed the Arabic people. The Arabs were those amongst them who were what they used to call them the geniuses of the Arabs, who were known to be just wise men of the Arabs. And there were among those Arabs like that Bedouin from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who comes into the masjid and urinates, doesn't know that this is a place of worship, it shouldn't be done like that. So, I mean, as human beings, any group of people are going to find very intelligent and not so intelligent, not so wise and so forth. Now, but the Quran was to be a book for all of humanity. It's not a book for the elite, for just the very intelligent, the very scholarly and so forth. And so therefore the Arabic language, when it's understood the basic meanings of the Quran, what's called the usul, the fundamentals of the religion, like worshipping Allah alone, not associating with Him, being kind to one's parents, establishing the prayer, paying the zakah, fasting the month of Ramadan, doing the Hajj, not engaging in riba, doing buying and selling in halal means, and good character, and so forth, to be forgiving, to be patient, to be grateful, and so forth. These basic principles of belief and action and character and morals have been expressed in the Quran, that a person, if they read the Quran, and even the meanings of the Quran, anyone can understand the basic message of the Quran. You see. So the Arabic language also is a means by which we can use to understand the Quran due to the expressive nature of the Quran. It's not a book of riddles, and it's not a book only sent, but it's sent to all of humanity, not a book just sent to the elite. Now, there's a final thing which we have to be aware of, and this is concerning which has been condemned in the Quran and in the Sunnah, which is explaining the Quran by our own opinion. And this is something which is very dangerous. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said concerning some of the major sins, وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and that you speak regarding Allah that which you do not know. And in some of the narrations upon the Prophet ﷺ, even though they had some weakness in the chain of narration, the Prophet ﷺ said that he who speaks of the Quran from his own opinion, then let him take his seat in the hellfire. And also one time it's reported the Prophet ﷺ said that even if he's correct, he has still erred. In other words, that even though he, maybe by guessing, he has come to the right conclusion in the meaning of the verse, but he still erred because you're not allowed to speak of the Quran from your own opinion. Now this doesn't mean that a person doesn't reflect upon the Quran, that a scholar cannot apply the Quran to new contexts and new events in human life and history, but it means that the sense that you just, sort of introduce to the Quran its meanings which have no bearing whatsoever. Okay. And so one has to be very careful. There's a tendency, especially here in North America, due to the lack of scholarship and scholars, and because Muslims are always being challenged by the unbelievers to explain their religion, that we sometimes find ourselves that we, delve into matters of the Quran which we might not know the meaning of, and we should avoid doing that because it incurs a great sin. But rather, if we're asked concerning the meaning of the Quran or a passage in the Quran to which we do not know its meaning, we should just remain silent. There's no shame in to say, Allah knows best. I am not a scholar. I don't know the passage, this meaning of the passage of the Quran. However, we can maybe search and find somebody to explain it to us, and not to feel that one is obligated to say something to which one does not know. Anyway, those were some thoughts concerning understanding of the Quran by the Sahaba and how we should understand the Quran. And inshallah ta'ala, maybe through the questions and answers, we can bring out some more of that. And of course, if we have any comments from our esteemed مشايخ Sheikh Ja'far and Sheikh Abdullah to add to that. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وجزاكم الله خيرا.
So I'm going to repeat the questions once again, just so we can get them on the internet for the people, and as well people don't hear. So if there's questions, feel free to ask. Is there any questions? Yeah.